Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Do you tend to get panicky or maybe a little bit flustered when your plans go awry, right? When you have made a plan, it was a great plan, you're all set to accomplish this plan, and then all of a sudden something happens that throws things off balance and makes it so that you cannot complete your plan. Do you feel like you failed in these instances? Are you mad that you have even planned in the first place? Do you feel like it's wasted time because now your plan is not happening, right? This happens to all of us. This happens to every single one of us. It happens in extremes. It happens in like little bits and pieces. But no matter how much we plan, there's always going to be something, right? Our plans are always going to change. That does not negate the planning at all. And I want to share with you why. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a time recently when I had to majorly pivot. Actually, me and my whole family, we had to majorly pivot some of our plans. And I want to share about how we would really not have been able to do this well if we didn't have a plan in place to begin with, okay? So here's what was happening. It was September. My little sister, was getting married. I was super excited about it. I had flown to my parents' house. The wedding was going to happen at my parents' house, and I had flown there a week in advance to help with preparations. I was still doing some work, of course, but we also had this kind of massive prep list of all the things that we were going to be doing. We're doing this wedding on a budget. We were going to be doing a lot of the work ourselves. And so we had been planning for months, and we had this like very detailed spreadsheet of, who was going to do what day it was going to happen on, so that we would be able to be prepared for this wedding that was going to be happening in just a few days. Now, I wake up one morning. I know I have a full day of client sessions ahead of me. I've got a bunch of things I need to do, and then we're going to be doing wedding prep work after that. So I wake up, I immediately go on the internet, or try to, and realize there is no internet, right? How am I going to do all of these Zoom calls? So I wake up my dad, who is sleeping because he has the schedule of a teenage boy. So I wake him up and I say, hey, there's no internet. I need your help. I have a client session that's in like 20 minutes. Please help. And he starts, gets up and he starts trying to figure things out. And he realizes not only do we have no internet, we have no power. Right. So now we have like a whole day, I have a whole day of work planned ahead. Everyone else has a whole day of wedding prep, which, we really did need power and internet for a lot of that. And now we are left saying like, okay, what are we going to do? So we could have panicked. That would have been one option. But that wasn't going to be an option that was a good option for us. So what we did instead is we pivoted, right? We first started brainstorming on two fronts. So for me, the very first thing I needed to figure out was like, I have a 9 a.m. session. How am I going to get there on time and make sure that, I can connect with my clients? And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just find a Starbucks and I'll go to Starbucks. I'll do it from there. But my dad had a better idea. He called the neighbors. He knew they were on a separate power grid for some reason. I don't know why. And he found out that I was going to be able to work from their house. So I walked across, I walked through the gate and the fence that my dad had built between their two houses. I go into their neighbor's house, and now I am going to be working from their neighbor's house, which is fantastic for me, right? So I'm there, I'm working. I'm in a room that has My Little Ponies all around it. Super cute, but maybe not so business professional, right? And I have my background blurred for most of it, but then I realized I need to do a Facebook Live because I am doing a live Q&A for the Time Well Spent program that I was about to be launching at the time. And I did not know, using the Facebook tools, how to blur my background. And so I ended up doing this, Q&A, this live Q&A with My Little Ponies all the way behind me. I explained what was happening. We moved on. It was fine. Now, what was happening in the other room, right? What was happening in my parents' house as my sister was frantically trying to figure out, like, what do we do now, right? We have a whole day's worth of prep we need to do. We don't have an extra day before the wedding that we can do it. We can't just do nothing. What do we do? So she looked at this massive spreadsheet we had, and instead of doing the things that we were supposed to do that day, she instead went through the rest of everything and she said, okay, what are all the things we could do that don't need internet and that don't need power, right? And they got to work, right? They found that there were a lot of things. They went into the garden and picked flowers for the flower arrangements. They went shopping, right? They could do things outside of the house. There were they moved furniture outside, right? They moved things around and set things up outside where it was light out. And so they were able to really pivot, be able to take this plan and move things into different places so that they could accomplish what they needed to accomplish. Now, of course, around 4 p.m. after my last meeting of the day, my dad called me and he said, hey, the power's back on, everything's good. So, crisis averted. At least we didn't have to deal with it for 2 days in a row. But I'm sharing with you this story because This could have been a disaster for everyone, right? It could have been a disaster for me, canceling client meetings last minute. It could have been a disaster for my sister and her wedding prep if they weren't able to, move things around and get things done. But the thing is, we had a plan. We had a good plan. And because we had written all this stuff down, because we knew what we had to do, we were able to rejigger the plans, to pivot from the plans, to make a new plan, right? A better plan, given the circumstances that we had, given the fact that we did not have power and we did not have internet. And so I share this to say, usually our first instinct, right, when things go awry is kind of despair and panic. But we have so much more that we can do, right? We can pivot, we can change things. Having that plan helps us to do that. So the next time you're thinking, I don't have time to make a plan, I want you to be thinking, I don't have time not to make a plan, right? Because by having a plan, I'm going to hopefully be able to follow that plan. Fantastic. But if I'm not going to be able to follow that plan because something else comes up, I'm going to be able to much more quickly pivot to a new plan if I have another plan that's already written down. So let me know in the comments, what is the biggest loop you've ever been thrown for, right? The biggest time you have had to completely change up your day based on, what it was happening, right? Based on things that were out of your control. How did you handle it? Did you pivot gracefully? Did you panic? What happened? Let me know in the comments below. And if you would like more content just like this, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to see you here every single week.
Make sure to subscribe. As you can see, only 17.3% of the people that watch our videos are actually subscribed. And at the time of this recording, we're almost at 1K. So please help us reach that big milestone.